Hi, my name is Efrain Ibarra, Assistant Director for South County Economic Development Council. And the following is a short bio of Todd E. Roberts. Todd Roberts is the president of Marine Group Boatworks, LLC, and serves on the board of the California Maritime Academy Foundation, San Diego Working Waterfront, and Deputy Sheriff's Association of San Diego. As president, he oversees overall shipyard operations, 3 waterfront facilities, acquisitions, capital improvements, business development, and all major refit and new construction vessel projects. He has taken the company from making 21 million in sales to 67 million in just 10 years. In 2009 and 2010, Roberts respectively led the development, construction, and launching of the sister companies Fifth Avenue Landing, a super yacht marina in the heart of San Diego, and Marine Group de Los Cabos, a boat repair and storage facility in Mexico. Todd Roberts graduated from the California Maritime Academy with a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration with an emphasis on intermodal transportation. Roberts has over 20 years of applied experience in managing extensive vessel refits and construction, original equipment manufacturer service repairs, and operating vessels of all lengths, makes, and models. He is especially knowledgeable of structural hull materials and propulsion methods. Roberts has managed and supervised over 1,000 contracts involving the construction and or outfit of vessels up to 300 feet of all makes and models in new propulsion and power systems of virtually every kind of engine manufacturer. Roberts is a strong believer in sustainability, contributing to the community, and mentoring students. He has led the initiative to replace company vehicles and equipment with all electric cars and equipment. In addition, he incorporated a giving back program which makes donations to community organizations, a job shadow program that provides a high school students a real world look at what it's like to be part of the working waterfront. Roberts can also be attributed for launching the California Maritime Foundation Vessel Donation Program. He's active in his alumni network, providing maritime internships for CMA students, mentoring and job shadowing opportunities for young recruits to aid in the education and development of the next generation of our maritime industry leaders. Thank you.
Starting out, looking at the world and how it's changed, what type of skills are you seeking in the workforce for employees moving forward, and how has that changed over the past couple of years?
Well, that's a great question. The skill sets that we're looking for are good old-fashioned direct labor, highly skilled direct labor. So what does that mean for us? Pipe fitters, welders, both steel and aluminum, mechanics, or what we refer to as an outside machinist. So being that we're a boutique-sized shipyard, those guys who go in and work on valves and pumps and propeller shafts and propellers, again, I'll say it 2 more times: welders, welders, welders. That seems to be where our real need is. Folks who can read a technical blueprint, or what we used to call blueprint. We build a lot of our boats and our structures out of the 3D model. So the ability to visually look at something and imagine you have a 3-dimensional structure on a computer screen that's dimensionalized, taking that information and then going and actually building that out of metal is important. And I would say probably another skill is people that can run our automated equipment that does cutting of metals and shaping of metals, that is sort of a hybrid between a computer person and a tradesman who understands how things get put together. Those are really the skills that we really need. How does that vary from the past? I would tell you there's more of an emphasis on those skills and less on fiberglass work, which, being a shipyard, we used to do a lot of fiberglass work. We're starting to see a little bit less and less of that skill set. With new VOC regulation, it's kind of harder to do that kind of work in California. So we're seeing that work go to other states. But these are terrific living wage jobs that somebody right out of high school can come train for and do. And that's sort of our battle cry right now, is the limiting factor in how much work we take right now is available labor.
Yeah, no, it could not be more true. Labor definitely seems to be an issue across the boards. And you mentioned that, you've seen a shift from fiberglass to the metal cutting and more of a hybrid type material. Um, are there special equipment that you use that may differentiate skill sets that you're looking for from other folks?
Yes, here at Marine Group, we are constantly looking at cutting edge equipment for our pipe fitting and welding. So, in our pipe fitting, let's talk about that first. We do a lot of automated CAD driven bending. So we'll have that pipe design laid out in CAD, and then we'll use automated machines that bend that pipe and form that pipe. So being able to operate that type of equipment is important, and then still having the skill set to grab that piece that you just made and take it out to the boat and weld it into place. That's also important. That's one. And then I think on the welding side, in our aluminum, not to get too technical, but again, we're always trying to equip our folks with the latest and greatest and the best technology that delivers the safest, most efficient product. And for us, that's pulse welding. So that's wire-fed pulse welding, which is a lot different than what we probably all envision of a guy with a torch and a stick. Those days are pretty much gone here. So the ability to operate this equipment, which requires a little bit of fine tuning and a little bit more precision planning, is really valuable to us. Those are skill sets that we'll do. And if you have some basics, we can train those here as part of our ongoing training. We'll make you familiar with our equipment. And not to interject too much, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. What we find with those precision pieces of equipment is women tend to lend themselves really well to aluminum welding. We find that that women really excel. They tend to have a really good attention to detail and understand the balance between letting the equipment do the work for you versus trying to overcome it with brute force. So we always encourage young ladies to enter the trade and be able to have a really good, stable environment.
That's awesome to hear about the change in the trends of employees and the types that you have seen. So I'm sure using cutting edge equipment and ideas has, really changed or made your work even more appealing to folks. Are there cool projects you're working on now that you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. In the manufacturing side of our business. So a little bit of an overview. The business is really a third large yachts, these super yachts that you see here in our yard here in Chula Vista. A third new construction where we're building for the Navy, call it Navy repair and new construction, and a third commercial. So right now, something of interest in the just in the general repair is kind of fun is we have one of the LA fireboats, one of the 50-year-old LA fireboats going through a major restoration here. And at the same time, on our manufacturing side, we're building two state-of-the-art 35-meter, what they call patrol boat heavy, which is a brand new design. And these boats are actually going to the country of Jordan. So we're building these under a foreign military sales program where we're building these two highly capable patrol boats, heavily armed, very fast. And their job will be as part of a NATO mission to work out of the country of Jordan, which is a little sliver country directly across the Gulf of Aqaba from Israel. So as you can imagine, especially with today's goings on, is a really sensitive area. And these boats will go into service, replacing some much smaller, less capable boats. And this will help extend their mission of protecting their coastline and patrolling all the way down through the Gulf of Jordan, which is pretty large. So they have a huge area of to defend, and we're honored that the country of Jordan selected the Marine Group here in Chula Vista to build their boats. And most importantly, these boats will be what's called a program of record, and will likely be reported, repeated. So that for many other countries in the Middle East, that the U.S. sees fit to have this type of technology. And what's really interesting about this boat is this is one of the first boats, not the first, but for a boat of this size, was built completely in a 3D model. So there's no one-dimensional blueprint. The boat's built out of a model, so it's heavily engineered. And one of the reasons we had to do that was the speed. The boat exceeds speeds in excess of 30 knots. has gyroscopic stabilized weapons and cameras, and really a really special piece of equipment. So we're building 2 of those, and there's an option for us to build a third one that'll probably be coming down the pipe here pretty soon. And at the same time we're doing that, we're just starting pre-production design on a 90-foot RSV, which is a range support vessel, similar to the ones we built a few years ago for the Navy. This one's about 90 feet long and is built, here for California or by California for service in California. It'll go up to Port Hueneme and be working the Navy's missile range out at San Clemente Island. And we're excited to be selected for that. We are the last boat builder in California. We're it, and I say not to be confused with NASSCO, who does a terrific job on the large ships. When it comes to building, mid-size, robust commercial vessels, we're it. We're the only guy left in California. And so those are on our manufacturing side, probably 2 of our most notable projects. And we're known for building really unique things. One of the other things we're doing is the Navy has what's called a paint float, which sounds really glamorous, as you can imagine. This is a small barge, and all it does is support the fleet. Our ships have to be painted, and they have to be painted sometimes in the water. So if you next time you're on a harbor tour on flagship cruises or something like that, take a look at these barges you'll see alongside the Navy ships, which look like they have big scaffold on them. And those are used for the sailors to access the side of the ship and paint. Well, the design that the Navy's used for 100 years is pretty old. It's pretty archaic, very expensive to maintain, and very dangerous for the sailor. So the Navy contracted with us to design and build a brand new kind of state-of-the-art paint float. And what it does is it utilizes modern materials and blends things like fiberglass and aluminum into a really stable, safe environment for the sailor. And we're building the first one of those right now. That'll probably deliver in the next 6 to 8 months. So in addition to all our repair work, the 200 hardworking South Bay residents that work away here in our yard are really focused on not just our repair work, but these fabrication and manufacturing projects going on right here on our bayfront.
That's phenomenal. I had no idea. Those are pretty cool. I mean, how does the country of Jordan even find you? I mean, when you think about it.
Well, it's pretty interesting. The country of Jordan goes to the U.S. Navy and says, we need a high quality 30-year lifeboat, and we want you to show us what's available in the U.S. market. And they kind of zeroed in on a boat that we built for San Diego. We built these range support craft, which are a little smaller, and they're up based in Point Loma. We actually have 2 in Point Loma, or 3 in Point Loma, and 1 in Japan. And our boats, the quality of what comes out of this yard is phenomenal. And I think a little bit it comes from our yacht background. Our guys don't really know the difference. And then you compare that with some of the quality that comes out of other parts of the country. And are your traditional government contractors where maybe quality is not their highest priority. Our boats have been in service for 15 years and they hold up miraculously, and you go on them, they look like the day they were built. A lot of that has to do with fleet maintenance. We also support the maintenance for our boats that we build. We call it cradle to grave delivery. And Jordan looked at that boat and said, this is what we need. And then we spent a lot of time understanding their mission, which is crazy. I got to tell you, is a highly charged environment they work in. And we understood their mission and modified that hull form to meet their needs. And that's how they ended up here.
That's phenomenal. I mean, the happenstance and the amazing work you guys do all coming together, that's just amazing. So,
it's really a testament to the men and women who work here. They're craftsmen. This is not, a production shipyard. These are true craftsmen, and our boats are all hand built, and there's a lot of love and a lot of pride that goes into them. And we couldn't be more excited that we are known in the government, in that boutique arena, as being a very high quality product, and we charge more for that, and we're not ashamed of that. We're actually we charge. You get what you pay for, and we know that.
Absolutely, couldn't be truer. And we thank you on behalf of the South County and the region as a whole for putting not only a lot of great people to work here in the community, but also putting us on the map as a destination for this type of project and program and product. So that's awesome. Looking at my life and your life, we neither of us probably planned on where we wound up I know growing up as a kid, I didn't plan on being in economic development, or even when I was in college and all that. How did you wind up where you were, for people that are interested in getting into the field? So,
Well, I grew up, on the water here in San Diego Bay, right, and I was a water kid. My family was fortunate enough to be able to expose me to boating, and I grew up boating, and eventually went away to the California Maritime Academy right here in San Francisco Bay Area in Vallejo, which trains men and women to become officers in the merchant marine and sail on merchant ships, either as an engineer or as a deck officer. I graduated from there, did that for a while, went to sea for a while as a deck officer, and came ashore, and was fortunate to come back to San Diego, which, as we all know, is getting harder and harder to do. And I went to work back in the industry, running a passenger boat company. I ran then San Diego Harbor Excursion, and was fortunate enough to come down to South Bay. And I was actually sent down to what was then called South Bay Boatyard to close the place down. And at that time, we had a hotel developer who was going to build a hotel on the bayfront and needed this parcel to do that. And obviously, that project never happened. That was in right around 2000. That project never came to fruition. And I looked at this place and I said, "Man, this is 1 million square feet of land and water. It's the largest boatyard in San Diego. Matter of fact, you can fit all the other boatyards inside of this yard. And there's these large yachts coming to the West Coast, and there's nobody to work on them. We should be able to work on them." And the rest is history. We sat down as a group, as an ownership team, and decided, hey, what do we need to do, and what can we redevelop? We put millions and millions of dollars into the site, brought in one of the largest boat lifts at that time had ever been built, and started working on super yachts, and everything else just kind of fell into place. So that was my journey. I'm fortunate enough to love what I do every day. I've always been a boat guy. I went to college for boats. And I'm fortunate to come to work and play with these toys every single day. And there's an old expression around here that, and on the waterfront, that salt water gets in your veins, and you just love what you do. And that's certainly true for me. And one of my favorite things to do is to innovate and come up with bigger and better ways of doing what we do. And right now, I'm really focused on mentoring young folks in all different areas of our business, whether it be, folks that want to work with their hands, to engineers who want to do design work, or management, people that want to come in and focus on project management, the business side. I love getting those guys out of high school and college and saying there's a wonderful career here where you can work on the waterfront and really have a great time. And my expression to them is, you got to love what you do every day, or you're not going to succeed. And if you love this stuff, you're going to do great, because we can provide you an environment that allows you an amazing amount of creativity and really the ability to practice your trade and make it better and better. And that's what Marine Group's known for.
yeah, and I commend you. The team I've met there, and Leah took me on a tour of the facility. It's utterly amazing, and the people you have are of the best. So, I mean, when you talk to young people coming into the industry, do a lot of people, when you're first meeting them, understand the complexity and all of the roles that go into like Marine Group Boatworks and the operations you have there?
No, not at all. They're typically, if they're coming in the trade environment, they've gone to one of the local high schools and they've been told that you can be a welder, and their vision of a welder is a guy in a big smoky room with a hood on his head and not really know what he's working on. We tend to take a very different approach, and we do a spring break tour for local high schools. They can come down and shadow for a few days, and we put them with a welder, we put them with a pipe fitter, a mechanic. In some cases, if they're really committed and we see that, we'll let them rotate through different departments and tell us what the right fit for them is. And then we really encourage them to look at the big picture and say, look, what you're doing is you're putting this boat together, or you're repairing, you're cutting out this bad metal and putting in new metal, and really understanding how they fit into the puzzle. So we really like that, and we're big on hiring within folks that start out as trades. I would tell you, most of our supervisory and mid-level management team came from the trades here. Everybody has a great opportunity to advance. And I would say that's those are kind of the best highlights of making them understand, the value of having them understand the whole picture from inception, and how their job fits in is really valuable.
That's incredible to see people moving through and making careers and growing. It sounds like your organization invests tremendously in your people. How do you help folks that come in as an entry level tradesman grow through that process and become a supervisor and expand their roles?
A lot of on-the-job training and a lot of formal training. So we'll bring you in and we encourage you to acquire the necessary certifications to work in our environment. Given what the stuff we're doing, it's a pretty regulated environment. So welders and pipe fitters and even painters, we want to see you get those certifications, and we pay for you to do that. And then we always encourage you to look at the big picture so you can see if there's other elements. It's not uncommon for us to have people move from our security team into the trades. Sometimes trades folks get a little older, get a little tired, or maybe they get hurt and they want to move into our security team, or even some of the office positions that's available as well. But we really support that certification and education process. We want to see you do well, and we also really try to hire local. I would tell you, we do triple time trying to pull you out of the South Bay. We understand how expensive it is to live. We understand how expensive it is to commute. When people leave the Marine Group, we have very few resignations, but the ones that we do have all have one thing in common: they're leaving California. They're moving out of California. I would tell you 9 out of 10 resignations that I see, reason for leaving, moving to Arizona to continue my welding career. Can't afford to live here. We find that when we pull folks from the South Bay, or they're closer to family, their cost of living is a little lower, their commute time goes down, their cost of commuting goes down. So we really try to encourage work where you live.
Yeah, that's definitely, one of the number one conversations we have on a daily basis is how will my kids afford to live here? How can I keep them close to home? So, yeah, I mean, we encourage all kinds of job programs local. What challenges have you seen with being able to recruit people locally? Is it awareness of the industry? Is it, the types of jobs that are available people don't know to look for? Or what is your thought?
I would say the biggest challenge is work ethic. To be honest with you, we've created, and I don't mean to get political, but we've created an environment where young folks seem to believe that working with your hands is not where you want to be. That you want to go to college and you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an Indian chief, and working with your hands and being a tradesperson is a bad thing. And we see these other kids going down a route of racking up massive student debt and going into where there's either a surplus of labor, and they don't realize the starting wages for a certified welder is in the $30+ an hour range, plus full medical benefits, plus a 401k and a bonus program. It's not uncommon for folks to be able to outrun their peers very, very quickly. And they do that with little to no student loan debt. So we're not saying there's anything wrong with being educated, but our biggest problem is people are interested in boats. They like the idea of working on boats, but they tend to wince a little bit at the idea of working with your hands in the trade. And that's our biggest challenge right there. And then bringing people from out of California, almost impossible. The cost of living here has just grown to the point where I've got guys, as a matter of fact, I just brought in 2 hot shots on a very specific job, making $40+ an hour, and plus a lot of overtime. So these guys are in the 6-figure range when they're all done. And they'll tell you, we'd love to stay here permanently, but there's no way we can afford to live here.
Yeah, definitely a challenge. And, we've talked a little bit about it and how the industry is changing, and that may change how you recruit employees as well. But what challenges or advantages are on the horizon with things like AI? And obviously, you've gone from one-dimensional to three-dimensional design. But what do you see changing the industry moving forward, and then the people that it would require to operate?
You know, I don't see a lot of change coming our way. You know, we're a rubber hits the road place. This is where it ends. You know, this is where the objects get built and maintained. So this is good old fashioned labor. We don't have a lot of remote work. You know, a very team environment. We need you here, and we need you engaged, and we need you working. You know, materials change a little bit, but aluminum and steel have been with us for, you know, for in the shipbuilding industry for 100 years. Like I said, we're seeing a little bit of a phase out of the composites and the fiberglasses, primarily because of state regulation not welcoming those uses here, not because they're not good. We're just seeing them move to other parts of the country. So I'll be honest, and AI doesn't really have a place in our world. I know there's a lot of chat about that. But I don't see, you know, we're so custom and so unique about what we do here. I don't see a move there. So I think we're just going to continue turning wrenches and making sparks and putting stuff together.
I love it. You know, I wanted to give you an opportunity as we close here. Is there something you would like that we haven't talked about that you would like the community to know, or potential employees or potential customers for that matter, about your organization?
My only comment I would make is being here in a vibrant, new, developing waterfront in Chula Vista, which I know we're all super excited about, and that includes us. Is just to keep in mind that balance on the waterfront is really critical. We think having a resort across the street is wonderful, and we can't wait to get it open, and we support it. But let's not forget that there's a lot of men and women who make their living doing what we do. Our mission is water dependent and critical, and we're seeing a movement, you know, and not just San Diego, but everywhere, that we see non-water dependent uses becoming the priority on our bayfront. And we just want to caution, you know, our regulators and our policymakers that balance is important. You know, during COVID, everybody came to work at the Marine Group every single day, and we didn't miss a beat. And everybody, the boats that needed to deploy, deployed. The commercial boats needed to move commerce, yachts that work and needed to be repaired, and we took care of that. And hotels were dark, and restaurants were dark, and those folks were out of work, and that's a terrible thing. And in some cases, people are still reeling from that, but not in this industry. And there's plenty of room for everybody, and we need to not prioritize hospitality on water dependent uses, and just remember balanced waterfront matters. And let's make sure we're always maintaining that delicate balance of recreational use for out of town folks, as well as waterfront access for our communities, which is really important. And then the industrial side that allows people to have a place to go to work.
Well, couldn't agree more. And the fact that you were able to keep people working is a testament to the organization. But on top of that, you kept our Navy and other support industries floating. And pun intended, I guess. But, you know, when it came down to it, without you, we would have had a lot of things slow down. So thank you for coming to work every day. And I know it probably was a challenge for some folks with daycare and things of that nature. And you know, we really appreciate having you in our backyard. It does differentiate us from a lot of other areas. And, you know, as the waterfront develops, yeah, we're going to have cool new amenities, but it's amazing to also have businesses that, you know, support worldwide commerce. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for joining us today. It's been awesome getting to know you and getting to know a little bit more about the Marine Group. So.
Well, I appreciate the time, and we're a proud member of the South Bay community, and we'll keep slugging away down here.